Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Smith.
Weatherly.
Park, welcome.
Woods.
And before we get on, I would like to bring to order at the January meeting, we were supposed to have voted on the council president according to our ordinances. And think that it's a good idea that that position should be rotated amongst the different members. And I think since Ed is in his second term, I would like to nominate him to be council president, because I think it's important that everybody learns how, if they have to conduct a meeting, that they're prepared to do it.
We can't do that.
Okay.
We can do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
The public has to have fair
Okay.
warning to it, but we can sure do it at the next
Okay.
meeting.
But it's in our ordinances, so if you want to.
Yeah, that's just one of those things that we still need to notify the public. Just
Okay.
keep it open to the public.
Sure.
But that would be great to do that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Now, the minutes of the, approved minutes of the two previous meetings, you have the minutes. The last meeting, the minutes of the public hearing.
Minutes to the last meeting, and I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February meeting.
I second the motion.
Motion made, seconding, council discussion.
I actually have a couple corrections I wanted to make. One under, excuse me, the mayor reports, again, all the we's, of not knowing, like it says, we have met regarding the subdivision of who we is. I think it's important that we articulate, are we saying the mayor, are we saying the mayor and council president, is it the mayor and you?
I was writing what you said.
Okay.
You said me.
Okay. I guess I don't know who we is then.
Okay.
Is it your mouse in your pocket? And the other one is, what was it? I think that's what my ex used to say to me when I used the royal we. Under the dog park proposal, I thought what we voted on was that it would go to the Parks and Rec Commission for them to actually figure out what the cost of the fencing would be. Since when he made the proposal for the dog park, he didn't have any of the costs, and they were going to want the town to take over. And so what we discussed is that we liked the idea, but then it should go to the Park and Rec board so they could actually do.
Who is we? Just clarify.
The town council.
Thank you.
The town council, part of our discussion was to have it go to the Parks and Rec for them to then figure out how much did the fencing cost.
Yes.
So that they could come back to us. But the way it's stated is that motion to move forward with dog park proposal makes it sound like we were just giving carte blanche to the proposal. And I don't think that's quite accurate.
No, that's not what we're doing, so.
But I would prefer to actually say that the
Okay.
proposal was to go to the Park and Rec.
I'll also
So it's
read
clear.
the video and see exactly what motion was made.
Okay.
Because it was actually made to move forward with the dog park proposal, that's what you guys voted on. But that's what it says.
Okay.
Any other changes? Any other one? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item is claims.
Curious what the cash register's for? Is that the water guy?
Blower controls. They've
The
been
what?
purchased, huh?
No, it's just the blower control project to Morris Merrily. It's just paying.
Just for the engineering of the blower controls, or?
Yeah, the checks to Morris Merrily are for the project itself. So it's for, as we go through, we have to continue to pay for the different steps of the project.
So there was a new cash register bought for water sewer utility. We had one there, and it was failing, so we bought a new cash register for $87.85.
The certified letter to Odenkirk.
Tor Woodkirk owns 25 feet in that Woodkirk
Where the-
project
Yeah,
where the caboose sits.
where the caboose
So
sits.
he was notified of the violations of ordinances by certified letter.
What was that one? I didn't quite hear what you said.
So-
Oh, okay, I saw that. Never mind.
Yeah. Clerks Institute, hotel reservations, utility billing postage, More summarily then, as we said, for blower control, for the engineering work, $5,217.
What's the blue to gold training for Cameron? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Blue to Gold's the company, it's Montana case law.
Okay, never heard of it. Thanks.
I figured that would be a really good classroom.
Yes.
McFadden Consulting, that's actually a company that supplies fire equipment, $11,499.93. That's a reimbursable grant, so that's for turnout gear for the fire department, so we have to purchase it, pay for it, and then we turn in the bills to the DNRC, Department of Natural Resources, and then they reimburse that to us. More summarily, there's a second one on there for $3,887. That's for subdivision review and blower control. Remember the subdivision review, that's part of our fees to the subdivision. They'll reimburse those fees back to us. So anything their engineers do, our engineer cross-checks it to make sure it's going to fit for the town.
I make a motion we accept the claims.
I'll second it.
Motion made, seconded. Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is financial reports. The February financial report in front of you.
I don't know. So this one seems to be clearer for some reason. What's ARPA?
ARPA,
What does it stand for?
American Recovery, something active as COVID money.
Okay. COVID, you said?
It come from the COVID stuff, it was some of that funding.
Okay.
American Rescue Plan, that's what it's
Gotcha.
covering.
Now I know what you're
Rescue.
talking. Yes, yes. I didn't think it was the seniors group.
It's not AARP, it's ARPA.
And what's planning? Like the under library, just says planning? What is that? Planning for what?
Under library or
Yeah.
under us?
Well, I think it's under us, but it was the next
Okay,
section.
so the town used to have a planning board.
Mhm,
Yeah, I
okay.
dissolved the planning board years ago, but yeah, there was some money earmarked to go to planning. So what happens is we have to leave that on there because if someone hasn't paid their taxes in 12 years and they pay it and we get the 50 cents, we have to have a place to put it,
Okay.
transfer it, so. There's quite a few of them on there that are kind of that way. They're just,
Was that the same one you mentioned last month? I know there was another one. It was
The last
weird.
one was local government review.
Okay, yeah.
same
weird.
deal.
Okay,
We
yeah.
gotta leave it on there because you're always getting a little bit of,
Okay.
if someone hasn't paid their taxes in years, it's always dribbling in and you gotta put it in the right fund
Right.
for it to transfer.
There's a drug something fund on there that sits there, same name.
Okay.
That never gets any money.
No.
But every once in a while, I get $15 or something.
All right.
Come in.
20 cents or, I don't know why, but that's what it goes.
Drug forfeiture? That one?
Yeah, okay, that one.
Is It's almost $60 in there.
It's been $60 since the day I started working here.
Not enough for a pizza party, so that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So I have a question, when you have something like that, and you have the $60 just sitting there, or whatever it is, can you eventually do something with it?
It depends. If it was specifically put there by resolution for a reason, it's very difficult to move it. It has to go through resolution and hearings, but there's only certain things you can do with it, even at that point. So if the government gives you money and says you can only use this to fix the blue sewer line under the white house on 3rd Street, that's the only thing it can be used for, and it has to sit there until it can specifically be used for that.
So some things, like she mentioned, the local government review, when we did that resolution, we put in the resolution that at the end of that, all monies that come in will be transferred to the general fund. That's how we did it. Some of these are not that way, and that money just comes in, and it's usually just cents. Like one of them was 2 cents came into one of these, and 42 cents came into another. I mean, sometimes it's just, but you have to track every single penny for that resolution. So.
And our parks fund gets money, I think, out of every single tax check, but it's never more than like
So that's why it's
$1.
42 cents here.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
And so what's surplus at FSB? That's 64 cents came in.
We have a savings account at First Security
Okay.
Bank because at one point they exceeded the amount of money that this bank could insure us for. So
Oh, okay, so that's part of that whole FDIC.
this one was done before I started
Okay.
working here. Literally, they went over and took money out of the bank and drove it to Plains and put it in the bank there so that they were no longer over here.
Okay,
And it's a savings account that we get almost no interest on. So
gotcha.
we talked about looking into moving that money back, but haven't approached the board about it yet.
Good.
any other questions on financials?
We should make a motion.
You should.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the financials.
Good, I'll second it.
Motion made, second. Any other council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Reports, the mayor's office has been busy, as you may come to public meetings and stuff, they've been busy doing the zoning, the streets, and that stuff, working with more summarily on the sewer stuff, on the more controls and stuff. They're finalizing that and getting that coming down to the end. Working a little bit on the, just getting the engineers all on the same page on the subdivision, and working with them to get that cleaned up so we can bring that to the people so everyone can look at it, makes sense. So we were working on that, getting them some information and numbering and stuff. So it's a lot of property selling, so a lot of question on water sewer connections and what they can do on the property and that. So that's been pretty busy. Public Works has been busy with streets. As you can see, they did a little sanding, there's some plowing, there's some potholes, they're cleaning up mud along the edge. We ran our local gravel supplier out of gravel, so he's supposed to be crushing some more for us, so we'll continue on with that, but we bought all we had, so hopefully we can continue on with that. So that's what Public Works is up to. Fire Department, I was going to do a presentation tonight, but I figured the meeting might be pretty busy. One of the things that we're looking into or that we're going for is, one of the questions always is wildfire. Is the town protected from wildfire? And actually we are. The woods behind here pretty well cleaned, the brush is cleaned and all that. What they're finding the problem is that's not the problem. The problem with wildfires coming into communities is the communities themselves not being cleaned up and fire-wise in the community. So one house catches fire, the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour, it blows it to the next and the next and the next, putting embers in the air and all that. So it's just kind of a presentation to start making people aware of what goes on in wildfires. So recently there's been multiple towns burned down because of wildfire, and it wasn't because there were trees. Dutton, Montana, there's no trees. It was just grasslands, and it burned it down. Nothing left, the whole town, everything. From new houses to old houses, it burned it all. There's been multiple towns facing this recently. Hawaii, that town there, same way. It's just the heavy winds that are coming with these fires are pushing those fires through these towns. So that's what it is. Not to worry about the trees and stuff behind town. A lot of these towns that are burning just have grass or are no trees. So maybe next meeting I'll put together a little more presentations so we kind of see some stuff and we'll talk about. So towns need to become more fire wise. One of the things they've talked about is you live up in the woods and you do all these things up there in the woods to protect your house. Now they're finding a need to bring that into towns. Towns need to become fire wise with that by cleaning up your yards, special vents on your houses, roof styles, all that type of stuff to make your house more defensible. And one of the things with that is you need to remember is how many houses are in town, how many fire trucks do we have, how many firemen do we have. So that's not how we fight fast-moving wildfires anymore. We let them go until we can get to a containment spot. We come in behind. So after they burn through, we come in behind. It's the new way of fighting those. So those fires are going through the brush, timber, whatever, and attacking those houses. We're not going in there and trying to stop it at the house. We're waiting for the fire front to go through, and then we're coming in minutes behind the fire front. If we put the bushes out, the deck out, or whatever around the house, and move on, that's what we're going to do. There's a point where the house is on fire too much, we're just going to leave and let it burn. We don't have the resources. You try and save what you can. So by working and keeping your house, your yard, and all that defensible, we can show up, put the bush out, put the deck out, which we've done in some houses. I know some guy here that we put his deck out, his roof out, and his bush out in his yard.
Yeah, you.
You're right, I was made aware of that.
And that was a block away.
Yeah.
That was some brush was on fire a block away, and the embers went.
Yeah.
And deck on one of his houses, a roof on another one of his houses, in the yards.
Yeah.
Those things that, cedar-shaped roofs are not a thing to have. Anyway, so some of those things, and I'll bring it with our presentation and stuff next month. Otherwise, the fire department's actually kind of slow. We've only had a couple calls this month, so it's been better than the last couple months. We've had a bunch of structure fires, so that's going to slow down. So, police.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Town Council, all present. Welcome. So I got 2 months worth. Last month I got caught in town in Missoula, and so we'll address the Town Council report for January 2024. We had 11 calls for service. We had 1 arrest. We did 11 agency assists for outside agencies. Due to our workload, we only had 3 traffic contacts, and those were just warnings, 27 business checks. And we welcomed Cameron Martin to the Hot Springs Police Department as our police officer, 61-2. And a note on Cameron is he's doing very well. He's a sponge and doing quite well in picking up what he needs to do. Moving on to February 2024, we had 25 calls for service. We had 1 arrest. We had 2 outside agency assists. Civil standby. Again, due to the workload, we had 4 traffic contacts, and those were warnings. And we had 21 business checks. Reports.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Clerk.
Just burning and if you get permits.
I have a question about that. And I think we talked about this before, that people who use like those little backyard, burners, like a campfire, that those are okay at any time, correct?
Or the state has some regulations,
Right.
so they meet those state
Those metal
regulations.
things. So I guess I had a constituent contact me saying that they were doing a fire just in the yard, and a volunteer fire person came and told them, you can't do that. So they went and bought one of those, and then they were using that, and then the same person came and really got upset with them over it. And so she called and said, can we use this? And I thought I remembered it being okay.
It can be used as a cooking fire year round. You can't just throw your crap in it.
No, but like a bag, you're sitting around.
It also depends on the time of year. There are times of the year when you can't.
Well,
So
yeah,
there's a lot more to it,
if
so.
it's So a cooking fire is good year round.
Okay.
So for that, what you're talking, except when it's closed burning.
Okay,
So when the tribe closes down the reservation, which the state will too, to no open flame outside, then of course you can't.
so then you can't use those outdoor things. Okay, so I misunderstood.
So roughly July, August, part of September, roughly.
But right now, they could be
Oh,
using
yeah.
it. Okay, so the volunteer person got it, so maybe there needs to be some clarification on that. But I wanted to make sure I hadn't misinformed
Right,
him.
so that's good until they close it, so,
Okay,
you know, in July or middle of June, if it gets dry,
Okay.
whatever, that's the only time, is when they say there's no open fire, then you can't have it.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, year round, you can have
okay,
your little burner on your
Right.
deck with that. yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't misinformed him.
Library,
Mayor, Preston's Hot Springs Town County Libraries, services to the public. The Nitwit Knitting Project this month will be a hat. Sign up by Thursday evening if you will be needing knitting help on Friday. Nitwit starts at 1 p.m. on Fridays and will continue to do timed reading and writings. Book discussion group fires up with Let's Talk About Race by Nancy Dome on March 7th at 3 p.m. at the library. Paper crafts will be doing paper beads on Saturdays from 1 to 4. Michael Gedd will be at the library Friday, March 15th at 1 p.m. to talk about insecticides and safe organic alternatives. Collections, the book sale will continue until the end of March. Technology, the library prints tax forms, not instructions though, and completed taxes for your records for free. General administrative business. The Friends of the Hot Springs Library will hold their annual Honoring Tea April 8th, 2024 at the library. Honoree this year will be the late Thelma Niemeyer. There will also be observing the solar eclipse that day, so bring your solar eclipse classes if you have them. We will see only a piece in our area. Okay, I don't know how much, but the tea will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay. I usually start out by saying it's been a quiet month at the library. I don't think I can say that this month. A patron cussed out staff in front of a library board member. It says here the matter was resolved between the patron and staff member. Reports of the incident were filed with Hot Springs Police Department. The library board called a special meeting, which was attended by the Hot Springs Chief of Police and Cameron. We thank him for being there. And all library staff. Due to the matter being resolved between the patron and the staff member and the Chief of Police report on the patron accused, the matter has been settled. And I think I'm going to expound on this a little bit. At the meeting we had, we found out that this is not an uncommon thing in the library. There have been other incidents at the library with people going off on library staff, and they have informed me that one particular person comes in and does this regularly, bounces the computer around and everything like this, and swears and throws a fit. And the library staff has said they've, at this point, not done anything because they're afraid of him. So anyway, at the next board meeting, I know I'm going to take this up, and we're going to try to resolve this situation, because I can't see as this being a place where people want to bring their children into the library if we have somebody who's regularly going off inside the library, or more patrons coming in. So we've got a couple ideas to address this, putting signs up. I'm going to redo the incident reports. I'm going to ask that all incidents, anytime this happens, the library staff files an incident and gives it to the Hot Springs PD, so we can start tracking this and tracking the people who are doing this, and maybe have this stopped at the library. Thank you.
You didn't give me one.
Mine didn't make it, so I Okay, zoning compliance. Like I said, we've had quite a few people just asking about what they can do on their property. Mainly, they're putting just regular houses and stuff. It's mainly asking about water and sewer and getting that. So we've got a couple of them this month on what they can do. So it's a pretty simple month with that. Moving on to old business, we have none. New business is maintenance and vision for the Hot Springs Rodeo Grounds. There was a request submitted to talk to the town council by Charlie Scott. Charlie, you can speak now. Charlie didn't speak.
She didn't ask to be put through this.
Yeah, you did?
It says, I, Charlie Scott, right here. So who would like to speak?
I can speak.
Okay.
I am Michelle Bangan, Lawrence. I'm a lead partner here. 3 years ago, asked my husband and I to start working with him for the Homesteaders Rodeo Committee and putting on the rodeo. The rodeo grounds used to be in Lawrence's hands and now it is in the city's hands. We are trying to plan. Our rodeo is not getting any smaller. We have more people coming, we have more vendors coming, our phone is ringing off the hook, our messengers, people want to come. The problem with our rodeo grounds and why we're asking for what the board or the council wants to do is repairs do need to be made to bleachers, the old bleachers especially. Posts are rotten in the rodeo arena. Last year during the rodeo, we had a welder come and fix the calf chutes. We're throwing money, us as patrons of this, at this rodeo ground, basically as Band-Aids to fix what we can do to keep putting this rodeo on. I know this isn't going to be fixed by this year for the rodeo, but kind of like, do we want to get something together to write a grant? We have people out there that will sponsor labor, that will do all this stuff, but I can't make those decisions, Lawrence can't make those decisions. We need you guys to say what you want to do, because it's in your hands. But also, us as people are throwing $10,000 to $15,000 a year into Band-Aids at the rodeo to keep it going year after year. And this is the 75th year. I think that if the rodeo did not happen, you would have a town mutiny, personally. Homesteaders is one of the biggest things here. So I just think and I've had conversations with Randy and Amy regarding it, but I think something needs to be put in place as a vision or a goal that we can say, because we have sponsors, we got $30,000 to put up one set of bleachers. There's another set we can do, but they want to know where we are going with it. When you put on a rodeo, or when you are the ones that are coming, like at the fairgrounds, Powder Mountain walks right in there the day before, the arena is ready for them. We put 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time into preparing to have a rodeo every year. So I just kind of need to know where to go with that, because that's all we're asking. Because it's not going to make it another 5 years. It's going to have repairs to that arena. For the safety of your patrons. I mean, we broke, when was the gate? 2 years ago? The Bronc went through the gate. So it's just a safety thing too, is the big thing.
So I know that town, at one point when we were talking about this, that part of the reason we don't charge for the rodeo or charge or get any kind of financial kickback from anything that happens at Homesteaders, the town at all, was that the rodeo was going to be taken care of by the rodeo committee and the Homesteaders committee and those funds. But I do know that we also talked about part of it coming from the town, but not all of it. So I know we talked about
I don't know that deal that was made.
But that's also, you compared it to the fair, but the fair gets the money for the.
I would much rather you guys say charge the city $10,000 and give you the $10,000 to use it and come in and use it for the rodeo. That's the thing. It'd be way easier on us, getting volunteers, getting people to do those things. That rodeo grounds can do way more things than what we're doing. The town can make a ton of money off that rodeo grounds if it was done right. If you put the time and effort in it. There's grants out there, which I've talked to Amy, and I know it takes 9 months to a year to get a grant, and it takes work to do it. But that's where I'm like, I'm not going to put all the effort into making this happen if this is not what our council wants to happen. Because it literally is in your guys' hands of what happens with that rodeo grounds. It's not in my hands or Lawrence's hands.
So there's not currently a rodeo committee or?
There is, but not a town sponsor.
Right.
So everything that's there is not, none of it is to the town, so we have no. So what she's saying, the town owns all that.
Okay.
Is the rodeo committee then, is we gotta come up with some sort of an agreement plan. The town helps do something, they're gonna do something, how do we do that? How do we set that up?
Well, I just saw possible rodeo board needed, that's why I was wondering what.
We just need to know where to move forward. I mean, the arena is not in good shape at all.
So you put money into it, but like writing grants and stuff, that all has to come through the town, because that's town's property. So there's where we have to come up with some sort of a plan on how to go forward with maintenance, writing grants, spending money on it. You know, do we want to put general fund money into it? Do we just want to use the money that's generated off its use? You know, how do we want to do that? So for instance, you brought the Sanders County Fairgrounds. So Sanders County Fairgrounds gets a little bit of tax revenue. So it gets a mill or a little over a mill Sanders County wide. So it generates, I don't know what a mill's worth today, $42,000, whatever a mill is worth in Sanders County. It gets that. The Sanders County Fairgrounds costs, we run about $500,000 through there a year. And we bring in about $70,000 in tax revenue from the people. The rest of that is from us putting on events. But I mean, the fair is a huge event. I mean, that's where we're bringing in almost $500,000 just on that. You know, but it's expensive. I mean, we're this year the rodeo, 3 nights of rodeo and everything that goes with the rodeo is going to be about $120,000 too. We have expenses, you know. So those are some of those pros and cons. But that's how the money gets put back into the fairgrounds. So when we're siting buildings, putting in new chutes, building a new building, rewiring, putting in new water lines, I mean, those things that we're doing down there is improvements every year. That's from money generated from selling butts and seats at the rodeo, at the demo, at the monster trucks, or whatever we rent the arena for. So we do it 2 ways. You know, we do the fair, but if you want to come down and rent the arena for monster trucks, we charge him $5,000.
So where does the money go now for people who buy tickets to the rodeo?
It goes right to the rodeo contractor, and that's it.
That's
It
it,
costs
okay.
to bring that rodeo contractor right now, I don't know if this year's is $20,000 at least. And that's just bringing the contractor.
So where does that money come from?
The ticket sales.
Okay. So but is there anything left over from the ticket sales? Or does it, so that's what I'm trying to understand.
There's very minimal. It's not, it might be like, I think last year it was 3,000 off of the 24,000 brought in.
I mean, it seems like maybe having, like you said, a possible rodeo board, so at least you guys, a group of people who are involved in the rodeo, figure out what it is you really need, and then negotiate with the town.
I think it needs to be a little broader than just like a rodeo board. It's mainly because that facility could be, there's a lot of opportunities in that facility, not just for rodeos.
Okay.
I mean, there's, you know, everything from barrel racing to concerts to all kinds. So it seems to me it would be more of almost a parks board type of thing. Not exactly that, but it would look like that, to where they're managing a facility and then that facility is rented out. It's similar to the fairgrounds, but just at a more throughout the year, rather than just the one time we have this rodeo thing, boom, it does its thing, and then it sits empty for the rest of the year. I think that's kind of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's kind of what thinking of is there a vision for that being more than just hey, we're going to have a rodeo at Homesteaders and that's it? Because there's a ton of opportunity that it could bring in. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a profit center necessarily because it's a town, but it would be something that could generate its own revenue to help kind of fix itself up and become something to where there's regular events that are held there, and I mean the logistics of exactly what that looks like, I feel like would be more of a parks type of thing that then contracts out to or rents out to different individials or entities.
So is there a group now, though, that kind of helps put the rodeo on besides this rodeo contractor guy?
The rodeo, Lawrence, myself, and Jason.
Okay, that is the kind of committee right
now. The phone
now?
company comes out and donates hours.
Okay.
Our guys, we had 7 of our guys out there last year that donated time and hours. Elijah Wynn has donated time and hours every year. Ed has done power. The B guys gave us that, which I don't know if we're going to be able to use that this year for parking, but he's also given his labor to and that's just to get it going so we can have a rodeo.
Okay.
you say contractor, you talking about stock contractor? Yeah. She's talking about the stock contractor that brings it.
Yep.
So it's what it needs, the town needs to be more involved and how that looks. I'm not exactly sure, but I've brought up different ideas to different groups over the last 3 or 4 years since we've gotten it, is we need to have some sort of so you have some people from the public represented from the council or whatever, but the town needs to be more involved in the operation of it. And it needs to be an event center, that's just what it needs to be, is from barrel racing to cap ropings to a concert or renting it for a fire camp. I mean, there's all kinds of things it could be used for, but we need to have some sort of a body that's taking care of that instead of just it's sitting there.
So is there a town, you know, that's similar in size that has a rodeo ground that may be doing something already?
There's a very one, and I've gotten the plans for
Okay,
it.
that would be really helpful to
That
see
is
something like
by
that.
That's Darby's. Darby
Okay.
has very big events that they put on at their rodeo. They do the Yellowstone Bear rigging thing. They do rodeos. They do all that. So there is small town. Augusta is another one that has a big rodeo arena that they use all the time. There's lots of small towns that do have that.
Well, I think having some samples like that of some models to look at of how did they organize it would be really helpful to see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the Parks and Rec, and you don't want us to be in charge of that. We can't even hardly come together and have a meeting. So I do like the thought, though, of the rodeo committee and a couple council members being on it and making that still the governing body for the grounds out there.
Because
And that's very similar to how the fairgrounds is. So the county commissioners, it's still their fairgrounds, but I'm on the board, and the board then we're of course appointed by the commissioners. But we get a budget, and that budget's ours to spend. You know, and that's how we take care of it. We can write grants, we can sign contracts, we can do all that as a board. And that's what we just operate the fairgrounds, and every once in a while the commissioners check on us about it. So that's similar how I think this needs to be set up, is there needs to be a board that works for the council that has that, whether it's 1 or 2 council members on it or whatever, but puts that together, and then they are given a budget and they run the event center.
How does the new subdivision play into this as well? Because I heard at one point that the subdivision, that was going to be their green space, something to that effect? No.
Their green spaces on their maps are along the canal.
Okay.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with the subdivision, those lines are already there, it's already fenced off. It's separate.
Well, the other part is that it's easy to form a board, maybe not that easy to form another board, but then where do we get the money from for the maintenance of the grounds? Because this is kind of new for the city, even though you've had the bigger rodeos, they get bigger every year, but Lawrence and the rodeo committee was doing all the work. And before the rodeo grounds were turned over to the city. So it is something new, and we have to find money. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I think a group needs to come to the town and say, okay, we need 5,000, 10,000, what can the town give? And we got to do that at budget time, which is coming up in June, but we got to do that and budget that amount, whatever the council, actually it's my budget and the council approves it, but that's my statute. But we got to see what we can put towards it. But also we don't want to neglect the parks either. I mean, we got to keep with that too. Ed wants a splash deck, so we can't take money away from Ed's splash deck. So.
I think the one thing that you might find, and this is just in conversations with Michelle and a few other folks, if there is that board, if there is a sort of a higher level strategic plans, like this is where we're going with it, people are going to be more willing to say, you know what, I know we don't have the money in this budget, but we'll volunteer some labor. Because it's really hard to continually, everybody every year, okay, we're putting stuff in, we're donating labor, you know, I mean, the Bangans have donated an enormous amount of just time and money. And when there's not a real clear picture of where it's going, it's really hard to sustain that. But if you have that board in place, I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to get behind it and be like, hey, yeah, we're a part of this. Because once it gets going, it will start generating its revenue, and it becomes easier to fund it. But I think having that goal, just the structure in place, will make a big difference on getting it going.
So that's probably the direction. That was kind of what I always kept coming back to. Is very similar to how the fairgrounds is you have a board, they come together, they meet, they kind of run it and put that vision together, like you said, with a 5-year plan. That's kind of what we did about 3 years ago. Actually, COVID, we put a plan together during COVID for major infrastructure repairs on the fairgrounds, because it was kind of the same way. For years, it was just the fair. That's all it was ever used for. Then the rest of the year just sat there. So we have water problems and building problems and all kinds of stuff, and we're continually repairing that. And this year's project is LED lighting for the arena to the tune of it's $80,000 just in lights. So so those are some of the things we do. A major project every year as we move forward. We're going to be working on water projects next, but we kind of came up with a 5-year plan so people can see, well, this is what we're doing with the money every year. We don't put it in the bank to make any money off it. We're spending the money every year to improvements on the property to make the event better and be able to close grounds for anything from. We're actually approached the other day for midget wrestling. I mean, maybe we get the midget wrestlers up here one time.
I don't have the budget with me, but did we put a line item in there for rodeo for this year's budget? I thought we did.
We might have. We might put a line item in there, but I don't think we put any money in.
No, I think we did. I would have to look at it and see.
Well, we put a little bit of money in it because but it was a little bit, but last year we did electrical upgrades. And then the guys were supposed to get out there and seal all the new wood on the bleachers, and they didn't get there, but that was all bought, the sealing material. We bought gates last year, and we bought some more gravel or something. I don't know what we bought. So there must be a line out. I just don't know how much money is in it. But okay.
So isn't there a homesteader committee? I mean, couldn't it be part of that committee since it all happens in the same weekend, or?
They're completely separate from the
Okay.
city, though. That's the hard part.
It's still all
It's
separate.
not-
None of the homesteaders thing in town has nothing to do with it.
Right.
So, the only thing we do is spend money.
Right, I know.
So what we need to do though is we need to put a resolution together to form, I guess that's where we're headed, is to form a board to drive the rodeo grounds. That'll be their purpose.
And I think it'd be, again, helpful to see some of those other towns, how their models to use as an example.
I think it would be good for the rodeo committee to put a needs list, a short-term needs list, that what you might need for this year to operate, because sealing the wood on the bleachers, and you're saying, I know we did some electrical work out there, but a short-term list of something that we could accomplish, for you guys that are operating that rodeo. And it is a big draw, and it has grown, and it's really valuable. So, yeah.
Lawrence?
Got a list
You haven't
of
spoken yet.
list of
All
needs.
quiet.
I'm glad spring's coming.
So that work for the group, if we look at doing a resolution, we look at putting a board together with representation.
Yeah, so you're saying like this board would be able to go out and look out for grants and write for grants and do that sort of thing and have those decision powers to be able to do, like the fair board is kind of,
So we'll need to
that's
see,
a great idea.
we need to see how to do that wording in that resolution. So
Yeah.
Darby or some of those places have that wording.
I don't know if theirs is through the city. I don't know that part
See,
of
and
it.
that's where you gotta find
I think
places.
Augusta
that have that.
is, but I don't think Darby is.
Because I think even if you have a board, you still have to have a resolution or to go apply for a grant.
It still has to.
It still has to come
Yeah.
to the council.
But I mean, like, if we say we're gonna write for this grant, we know that the council is gonna be behind us.
Right, and that's,
I'm
like I said,
asking.
that's how the
Yeah.
county is every once in a while the commissioners say, hold it, you run this by the legal team or whatever, but everything still goes to the commissioners, even if we
Yeah.
buy something, it still goes to the commissioners.
Yeah.
That's how this would be too, is it's still there, they have a little power to go out and write for grants, look for grants, do all that, buy materials, they have a budget, you know, if they want to buy 4 gates, they can buy 4 gates. That's what the budget's for. You don't have to come ask us for every nickel you want to spend, which,
Yeah.
from my point of view, is very annoying to me too, because I don't have time to be, can I buy a piece of paper to staple up on the wall? I mean, we've got to have some sort of, that's what budgets are for, is for you to be able to go do that instead of having you come ask every time you want to spend a nickel. So that's what we need to look into. That would be my suggestion to the council. Is
And I know we're very short-staffed everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
For sure.
And Michelle and Jason and Lawrence and the rodeo committee, they've done a good job, you know, doing a lot of volunteer work. But it really, we have to have the money to hire a grant researcher that also writes the grant. But you did get Ray Brown to help you at the county level when you wrote that advertising grant for them the first year. So he's a big asset, and well, he doesn't cost any money.
Yeah.
But so we should look into that too.
okay. Council, have anything else? So I think we need to do is do some more research on this and back to the council. As we gather that information, we'll read it out to you so you guys can be seeing it before the next meeting too. So as we come up with that stuff, so we kind of can come back to the next meeting with a plan on how we're going to do that. That'd be my suggestion. Okay, council, okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next item under new business. Parking on Spring Street in front of post office. So when you pull out of the post office on the west side of Spring Street from the alley to the end of the post office parking lot, the postmaster approached us about this, and I went down and looked at it, and then actually I just for the fun of it, I keep driving in and out of there just to get the feel, because I normally walk there, but I started driving just to see it, and that's a horrible intersection coming out of that post office parking lot when you have vehicles parked on that west side of the street, especially vans, trailers, like camp type trailers and stuff. You can't see that direction at all, and from about 9 to 4, 8 to 5, whatever it is, during weekdays when that post office is open, that is just steady stream of cars in and out of there, especially between 10 and about 2, but it is full. That parking lot, a lot of times between 10 and noon, will be completely full of cars coming in and out of there. So there has not been an accident there yet, but also when I started asking just a few people, just, hey, what do you think? Is that hard seeing out of there? Because it was for me, and a lot of you, especially the older people, are like, it's really bad, you know, to try and inch out there and hope someone isn't speeding up Spring Street, going south on Spring Street, because you just can't see. So one of the things we had, whatever the options are, one of the options we talked about with him is from the alley to the end of his parking lot, do no parking weekdays between 8 and 4 or 9 and 4, just to keep cars from being parked there during those business hours on weekdays. And then that lets people park there at night or on weekends when there's very little traffic in and out of there. So just an idea that him and I talked about and looked at, and he wanted it brought to the council. So does anyone have any other suggestions, comments?
Well, I know we can't do this tonight, but I think there's also an issue with the parking in front of Louis. When on Thursday, it's basically spring becomes one way when there's all these trucks that had long beds were parked angle. It basically took up almost the whole north lane going to on Spring Street. And then they're also parking up on the sidewalk, which is not very good for the infrastructure, but it seems to be problematic. And I know Thursday I had to wait for a car coming the other way before I could continue down.
Okay.
can we have a motion about?
On the post
signage?
office, yes, we
Yes.
can tonight, because it's on the
Okay.
agenda.
So, because the photo we have that was in our packet shows that hot dog vendor parked right on the west side, right in front of the post office. And I know that encourages other people, when the parking lot is full, they'll also park on the west side of the street as well. And so anyway, I'd like to make a motion that from the alley to the end of the post office parking lot, we put in some no parking signs. Because the post office opens at 8, doesn't it?
8. So you're talking from this alley here,
Yeah.
or that alley? Which alley are you talking about?
The alley at the end of Broadway, so behind the
Between
bank.
the bank
Okay,
and
so I guess, like, this,
Oh, bank.
because I don't know that it's an issue here, this part, of course, I've never seen.
Well, I got a fire hydrant and stuff there anyway.
Right,
Can't
I was
park
gonna
there
say, I've
anyway,
never seen
so-
anybody. All right.
So it's really no parking area anyways,
Anyway.
the fire hydrant's down about 10 feet,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it kind of takes up that whole road
Right.
anyways, so.
No, I agree, you have to get all the way out there before you can see.
Yeah, so the timing
8 to
would
4?
be like 8 to 4, something like that.
Weekdays.
Weekdays, yeah, because they're not open on, well, they're open Saturday morning.
No, the windows work.
No, okay,
And actually, when you watch Saturday, it's not a lot of traffic, but boy, from 10:11 till about noon, 1 o'clock is, a lot of times that parking lot will be completely full of cars, coming to get their mail and stuff, and in and out, and if that vehicles there, it's just hard for that traffic.
Gosh. yeah. So how many signs do you think that would take?
3.
3, okay. So I'm going to make the motion for us to put, for the city, to put up 3 signs that say no parking 8 to 4 on weekdays.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other council discussion? None? All in favor, aye? Opposed?
I guess, is somebody gonna have a conversation with the people that live there? Because I think they're the ones that.
Actually, he's talked to them.
Okay.
He would talk to them quite a bit. He's, the postmaster did a lot of legwork before he even came to us.
Okay.
Talking to people.
Teenagers.
So he's on top of what he's doing. That's kind of what we came up with there, so. Next item, zoning map changes. Here in the public record, I was given a letter by a member here, and I'll read it to the public and the council, so it's on record. I'm writing this letter regarding the upcoming vote on the proposed zoning changes. Overall, I think this is not a good proposal for many reasons. I believe this proposal would violate at least half of the 17 points listed under purpose and intent of zoning ordinance. Also, how could this represent a town council proposal when it was released the very minute 2 of our council members took their seats and had no input on our behalf? It seems very undemocratic. Did zoning commission board adjustments advise our new council prior to the map being created? The mayor and town clerk have suggested that people living in homes in the commercial zoning district are violating town ordinance, but is that even true? I strongly disagree with this approach, and why hasn't the town attorney been brought forward to weigh on the matter? The commercial zoning regulations are ambiguous, saying any use permitted in A is allowed while seeming to contradict that in section C. This should have been reviewed prior to creating a new zoning map. Again, it seems like lack due diligence. While I understand this proposal does not contain some good changes, passing a broad and sweeping proposal that helps one group and harms another does not serve the community well. I think we can do better. The group that wants their zoning change can petition the town council at any time, but if this becomes law, then what recourse do the people who are harmed have? This proposal could cause serious harm by negatively affecting the character of my neighborhood and my property values, as well as adding more noise, people, congestion in the streets. Changing just one block to residential A will not fix the problem with concentrating a mixed commercial residential zoning district in one neighborhood. Would you want anything goes zoning district placed throughout your neighborhood? This proposal could also deem my structure as non-conforming and place an undue hardship by subjecting me to the 50% land use rule. which could rule out extending my home with a small addition, further harming my property values. For all these reasons mentioned above and more, I'm asking the town council members to vote no and strike down the proposal. Thank you for your time and consideration. Anyone have anything else?
I actually do. After the public meeting, I went back and read our ordinances, trying to understand what Mike was bringing up at the zoning meeting. And that was what I discovered, that we're supposed to have a zoning commission and an adjustment board and a compliance officer. And it's actually state law that we shall appoint a commission. It's not a maybe or kind of if we want to, that we're supposed to do it. And that the zoning is supposed to follow a growth policy, which I don't know if we have, I've never seen. So I don't know how I, as a council member, could look at a zoning map when I don't have the rest of the information. But I'm mostly concerned that we're not following our own ordinances or state law, which can set us up for a lawsuit.
Anyone else?
What? I have the MCA code too that shows that we're supposed to
Anyone
have
else?
permission.
Council have anything else?
Well, we did have a public meeting, and it was right when the two of you were appointed to the board. So, and you were elected. We went over it, and at the time it seemed fairly harmless. We were looking at the people that were requesting a zoning change and not just randomly changing zoning to the whim of the council. I know Mike's over on A Street where the cabins are, the Sunrise cabins. And then the packet we were given this time is really detailed with every addition and color changes on each one of the...
That's why we did the public meeting last Wednesday, was about this.
Oh, I thought it was about the...
We did both.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I couldn't be there. I didn't miss very many meetings.
But we did it
Yeah.
this way so people could see it better. So this
Yeah.
was what was presented
Right.
after the meeting.
But this is the first time I've seen it because I couldn't make it to the meeting. But at the public meeting, the previous public meeting, we had a map of the town with the original zoning, and it's not the first zoning. We had a planning board and we did zoning 12 years ago or something. 2021. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think anybody should have to feel they're being unjustly changed, that would be harmful to them. And I don't know if maybe we should table it until we get all of the feedback from the community.
So just so the council knows, by ordinance, every affected person received a registered letter from the town explaining that. So only one registered letter was undeliverable on the 100 we sent. So everyone was notified, and that was prior to the public meeting.
Okay.
So everyone that's been affected has been notified of what the changes are, notified how it's going to affect them, and then an ample time to speak at the public meetings.
But that still doesn't address that the state law says we're supposed to have a zoning commission. It says shall. It doesn't matter, it's a
Well, we'd
part
have
of the
to
state law.
refer back to the state law.
I think
There's
we
some
need to.
exceptions in that law.
We'd have to review
I
the law.
think that the town attorney should be town attorney should be looking at it. It just happened that in that municipal class I'm taking this week, the reading was all about zoning and subdivision review. So it's very concerning to me that the town or the council is looking at something that we're not following state law, which sets us up for a lawsuit. And so I think we need to table it. The zoning map's been in effect since 2010. I don't think that there's any huge issue that it needs to be resolved right at the second before we know that we're not doing something that could be illegal. And that's what our town attorney's for, correct? Which I'm not even sure who that is right now.
Well, we want to make sure that we're legal, and we can look into that at City Hall. But, what do you think, Ed? Should we table it for,
Yeah, I agree. We got too much unknowns. Table it.
okay, I make a motion to table the zoning map change.
In a second,
I'll second it.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay,
Next item, House Bill 355, Streets Project. So this was presented at the public meeting the other night. House Bill 355, we're going to receive some monies, $62,274. We have to match 25% of that, so $15,568.50 for a total of $77,842. I had a contractor come to town, look at everything, and come up with some proposals. So phase one, with doing Main Street, part of Spring Street, and then chip seal part of Spring Street, comes to $78,910, so the town would have to add another $1,067.50 to spend that grant money. And then also then, if the monies are available, which as the gas tax money comes in, that's the monies for repair streets. We have phase two, which is doing some more Main Street, some Wall Street, Arlene Street, First Avenue Northwest. That's over, First Avenue Northwest is down, and then between Wall and Arlene would be the street section. And then phase three is Central and chip sealing the rest of Spring Street North from the Broadway intersection. Phase two is $66,015, and phase three is $71,967. So as those monies are available, we can continue to do that. So I'd ask the council to approve all three phases tonight, so as we get those monies together and come in, we have a contract.
And this guy was from Plains, this?
Yes.
It doesn't say, okay.
So it's the guy that actually owns the company
I was trying to remember that.
worked for, was Riverside, worked for Riverside Construction as a paving foreman for years. And then the guy he has helping him actually grew up in the paving business, actually as Rainbow Construction. And that's what his family did for over 50 years, is road paving. So a lot of experience on the paving side of it. So that's why I kind of trusted what they told me, is they've got a lot of experience with doing it. Some of the things I've already known from talking to some of the engineers is about keying the pavement in instead of spreading it out, let it come out thin, is to grind it so your waist have your 1.5 inches, you clear out to the edges so they don't break off. They're going to tack it, spray it with oil before they put the pavement down. A lot of the contractors just wanted to put the asphalt down.
And the Main Street was just the driving portion, not the parking,
Right.
correct? Okay.
All this will be just driving portion. None of it is full width.
Okay.
All this one driving surface.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve phase 1, 2, and 3 so we can get started on phase 4, 5, and 6.
Approve us to apply for the grant for the House bill. That's
okay.
kind of the wording I need.
Oh, the wording you need.
So can you get contractors, more than one, to bid on this if in a small town in this amount of,
Well, you
money?
can. I've talked to other ones. They just don't even want to mobilize equipment from Missoula to here to do 600 feet of street.
No, that's what I was
And one
wondering,
other thing
if it's possible to get multiple bids, because given the distance we are from the place.
It did have, under state law, under 80,000, we didn't have to get multiple bids.
But I did talk to one out of Kalispell that's been here before, and he didn't want to come back at all.
Oh, come on, you didn't want to soak?
No, he said Hot Springs took too much out of his pocketbook on that project. So, and the guy out of Missoula that just didn't. He said he's just too busy down there. Why pack everything up and move? And it's going to take 2 or 3 days. So I got crews driving back and forth. So.
I'd like to ask a question. Is there a deadline on applying for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
March 31st.
March 31st.
March
It's actually March
31st?
30th, yeah.
Okay, so,
This month.
Yeah.
So, and you wanna,
Tell me how I need to word it.
to apply for the grant and approve to move forward in all 3 phases as the town can afford.
Okay, that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any other council discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Oh, I thought you had something.
You were planning on it, but I just don't.
Well, I thought you were going to tell us you're quitting. See, he's already forgot what he's quitting.
Quitting?
The farmer's market.
You told us that last time.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, we're not so much quitting as passing it on.
Yes.
and he's going to be on next month's agenda to come to speak, so. He didn't get it in until it was too late for the council package, so he'll be at next month's meeting to talk about that. And of course, Mary?
Well, you're on the fair board, San Luis County Fair Board, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so are you pretty familiar with who was there last summer? Because I did go one day, and there was this outfit, I'm seeming to remember, it must have been Forest Service, and they had a whole table on it, and they had a lot of information about defensive towns and urban areas and forest interfaces.
Yes.
And I didn't really take a lot of that. I took some of their literature and I brought it to the farmer's market and put it on a table where, people could look at it, but would that be? Because from what I remember, it's those guys had a presentation going on, and what about Bill Nagy and San Luis County Emergency?
So this new presentation, this new stuff has just come out in the last couple months. They're seeing in the last 6 months, was there 6 communities have burned in the nation over the last 6 months. So it's becoming and the Biden administration actually just come out with a grant for slip-in like pump tank units to put in city vehicles and stuff like that, so you get more vehicles out there with water and pumps on them. The deadline for that is March 30th. That was one of those grants that came out in January, and you got it, or actually February. You got notified like 3 weeks ago, and the deadline was here in 3 weeks. So there's some of that stuff coming, and they see a need, but the big thing is the community just needs to help out with it. So I'll get that video, and then we can just show it so everyone can see it. Anything else?
Is tomorrow still the one-way street thing, or did that get postponed?
The signs haven't arrived.
Huh.
But, so yeah,
So
you can go either direction until the signs go up. You don't have to.
I just remember the 6th was the date, and I was looking out there, it's like, oh, I don't see any signs here.
Yeah, no, so some of them got backwards. They should be here any day. So, okay.
So do we, with the change of the one-way, do we put up warning signs to people? We have changes in the flow of traffic and... Okay.
And Cameron gets to wear one of those orange vests and stand out there and do the
Wave
like British cop thing.
There'll be some growing pains, but we'll try and see how it goes. Anything else from the public?
I may have to go to North Carolina, or is that South Carolina?
For one-way traffic training?
For the citation, enforcement. I heard stories about the stop sign,
Yeah. So,
30, 40 tickets in one day maybe.
don't have anything else? I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.